Hello and welcome to Yoga with Carolynne. Today's yin yoga practice is going to be a deep hip stretch. So in today's practice, you are going to explore what it feels like to commit to yourself through your yoga practice and through some deep hip openers. This practice is most definitely accessible to all body shapes and all mobility levels. Props you're going to want for today's practice are a bolster and a couple of blocks. If you don't have a bolster, a rolled up blanket or a few cushions will work perfectly fine. So roll out your yoga mat, put on your comfy clothes, and let's get started. Welcome to Yoga with Carolynne, teaching empaths and sensitive souls just like you how to create a collaborative relationship with your body through cozy, accessible yoga and self-care practices in order to live a life filled with less doing and more being. My neighbors seem to be doing some construction outside, so during the practice, if you hear any sort of like hammering or drill sounds, well, it's just going to be part of the practice today. So we'll be starting today's practice in a wide-legged child's pose. So making your way onto your hands and your knees. And if you have your bolster, this is going to be a really nice place to start using that bolster. So placing your knees about the width of your mat, your toes are touching and your hips come onto your heels. And then your bolster will come in between of your knees lengthways so that then you've got this really beautiful support for your torso, for your chest, and for your cheek to come down. If you don't have a bolster, no sweat, all good. You can bring yourself all the way down towards the floor, or you can use a couple of blocks underneath of your belly and your chest and your head. Once you've made your way into the shape, allow yourself to settle and soften into the support of the floor, the support of the props, and into the support of your practice. With today's deep hip opening practice being about committing to yourself or recommitting to yourself, this is going to be your invitation to practice riding the waves of sensation and of intensity and really staying committed to yourself through all of it. So I invite you, as you settle into your practice onto your mat here, to set an intention for your practice that can focus around the idea of committing to yourself or dedicating to yourself or honoring yourself. And as you call in that intention, you can allow the deepening and the lengthening of your breath to solidify the intention and invite you a little bit deeper into your practice. Please taking one more deep inhale. One last exhale to really soften into the hips, into the glutes. And really embracing that yin state of mind, that yin energy. Allow this next transition to be really slow as you slide the hands underneath of the shoulders and you press yourself up away from that prop or away from the floor, and you can set it to one side. Getting ready to come into the first shape, dragon pose. So releasing yourself out of your wide-legged child's pose, and just start by straightening out into the right leg, curling the toes under, and reach the right heel back behind you, just to enjoy this straightening into that right leg. And then picking up into the right leg to step the right foot towards the front end of your space. Allow your blocks to come underneath of your hands to raise the floor up, to really allow this shape to be a supported one and a grounding one. So the encouragement of having the blanket here with you today is because that left knee might benefit from some extra cushioning. So you can place a blanket underneath of that left knee, or if you don't have a blanket, you can simply fold over the left side of your yoga mat. And the only other thing I will mention here, two other things, is you do want to make sure that you've got the knee above the ankle or a little bit behind the ankle. We just want to be avoiding the knee being in front of the ankle to keep that knee nice and safe. And then you get to choose how low or how high you hang out in this shape. So it can be really, really low down towards the floor, but just being mindful that you're not doing anything funky in the upper back and you're keeping the upper back relatively soft. Or you can bring yourself really upright with those blocks a little bit closer towards the hips. One last option I will offer for supporting your body in this shape is you can place a block underneath of your right hip, just so that gravity is not like totally pulling the hips down. And I swear this isn't cheating. This is just a really nice supportive way to support yourself in your practice. So once you've found that shape that feels right for you, then coming into stillness. And we're gonna be here for a few minutes. That is the basis of the yin yoga practice, where we come into these stretches and we hold them for a few minutes. So if you're new to yin, don't worry, I'm right here with you. We'll do this together. We'll navigate it all together. If it feels inviting, if it feels safe and welcoming, you can bring the eyes to a close. Allowing your awareness to sink back into your body and back into your breath. When it comes to making commitments and setting goals, setting intentions, there's often this kind of cyclical way that we approach and we grow along the path of walking towards those goals, those dreams, those intentions. There's usually the initial excitement that really helps motivate you, and then usually there's bumps along the road, there's challenges, there's self-doubt, there's energy levels, emotions. So with today's practice, as you come into these poses where the sensations are relatively strong, dragon pose is a pretty intense stretch. There's lots of sensations going on in the hips, and there's also possibly quite a lot of emotions that begin to bubble up. So this is your safe and welcoming space to practice what it feels like to stay committed, to stay dedicated to yourself amidst strong sensations, amidst challenge, intensity. Knowing that this is temporary, we're not here forever, and there are things to learn here. Please take 3 more deep breaths here. Once you have taken those 3 deep breaths, be really, really slow with the release. Resist the urge to want to like jump right out of it. So straighten into that right leg and then pressing yourself back. Coming back onto your hands and your knees, and you're welcome to come into a child's pose before we come into the shape on the other side. Still moving slowly and with care, sliding the hands underneath of the shoulders and pressing yourself back up into your tabletop position. And then getting ready to come into the shape on the other side. So first starting with straightening into that left leg. I almost skipped that part. Straightening into the left leg, curl the toes under, reach that heel back. And then picking up into that left leg, stepping the left foot towards the front end of your space, and then set yourself up, support yourself here. You can explore folding over the right side of the yoga mat or bringing your blanket underneath of that knee. Choose where you'd like to place the block, so a little bit lower, a little bit higher, maybe underneath of that left hip. Also a reminder of that alignment, just wanting to make sure that you don't have the knee in front of the ankle, just a little bit behind or just right above. And then once you have found that shape that you'd like to hang out in, and maybe it's totally different than the other side, that's okay. A large majority of the time, the body is not symmetrical in the way that it's holding tension or feeling open. It's just the realities of the fact that we tend to do the same thing on the same side of the body, just in our lives, closing the car door, taking your steps up the stairs with the right foot first, whatever. So choosing a shape on this side that feels really authentic to what this side needs. And then coming into that stillness and allowing the breath and the time that you're here to work its magic and creating that space in the right hip. So notice if there's any areas in the body that have begun to tighten up or grip. Notice the shoulders here. Notice the grip of the fingers on the blocks. And would your body benefit from softening in those areas? And how can you invite in that softness? It might be with your breath, or it might be simply with an invitation, a welcoming, knowing that your body is safe here. Taking 3 more deep breaths here. Once you have taken those 3 deep breaths, first starting with straightening into that left leg, and again, move really slow here. You've been here for quite a few minutes, so take your time, enjoy the release. Sometimes when you come into these big poses, all you want is to get out of it, so enjoy the time where you actually are getting out of it. Making your way back into a tabletop position. You can enjoy a child's pose here. And then sliding the hands back underneath of the shoulders. Coming into our next shape, frog pose. So turning towards the right or the left side of your yoga mat. And again, I will walk you through this one. So I like to really bring all of my props in here. So I will encourage you to do that as well. And then you're turning over towards the right or the left side of your yoga mat so that you have extra cushioning on both sides of your body. So I will encourage you to fold the short edges of your mat to come in. And then you can also place your blanket over top of that as well. Make sure that you've got your bolster nearby. And then finding a position in the legs that is very similar to your wide-legged child's pose, but a little bit different is that you're going to bring yourself forward and then create a 90-degree angle with both of your legs. So allowing your knees to be in line with your hips, so you're bringing your hips forward, and then also your knees to be in line with your ankles and your toes to be pointing out towards the side. So you're flexing into your ankles here. So take a look, take a peek here. Notice if your hips are in line with your knees, not a little bit too far back or too far forward. And then ways in which you can really support the front line of your body here would be maybe you're hanging out up onto your hands the way that I am here, or you can bring yourself down onto your forearms. You see I've placed my blocks here. If that's too low, I'll give you a few more options here to really support. So you can have those two blocks and then bolster on top as well. So then you're lifting yourself up really high. The last different way, you can tell I've really worked with different modifications, different variations to really support the body in this pose. So you can place your two blocks so that you've got a little bit of space in between the blocks, and then place your bolster on top of that, and it's really close in towards your body, so that then you can bring your front line of your body all the way down onto that support, and then you've got this hole in between the blocks to cuddle into that bolster and then place one cheek down on the bolster. So lots of different ways for you to support yourself in this shape. And if one of those modifications didn't really feel right, then play around with it. Take your time. This is your practice. So make sure that this shape feels okay and that you're not feeling any pain anywhere, but you will be feeling strong sensation, and that's okay. Once you bring that cheek down onto that prop, allow yourself to sink into the stillness. If those sensations are really strong and you just want to get out of it because it just feels like too much, remembering that commitment that you made to yourself at the beginning of the practice. Knowing that the lessons that you learn on your mat here of staying within strong sensation, navigating challenges and intensity with grace and compassion and kindness. Know that the lessons that you're learning here on your mat will help you off of your mat. How can your breath act as a helpful support here? What collaborative relationship can you begin to create with your body? One more inhale here. One last exhale. Moving the hands underneath of the shoulders. Press into your hands and your knees to bring yourself up. And then releasing out of the shape entirely, so bring those knees in nice and close. You can turn back towards the front end of your space. Move those props out of the way. And then making your way onto your back. Once you've made your way onto your back, just enjoy one last stretch here before coming into stillness and ending the practice. So from your back, bringing the knees in towards the chest, hugging those knees in nice and close. Placing the hands wherever they meet comfortably. So on top of the shins, curled around the legs, or on the back of your thighs. Rocking from side to side or enjoying stillness, whatever will feel the most comfortable for your body. And coming into the last shape, coming into happy baby pose. So option one would be to simply open up into the knees and notice what you feel on the inside of the legs. Option two would be to bring the arms on the inside of the knees and then grab hold of the outer edges of your feet and then pulling the knees in towards the armpits. And then you can choose if you'd like to enjoy stillness or rocking from side to side. Allowing the playfulness of the shape to really counterbalance the commitment and the intensity in the last few poses. And then slowly come back into stillness if you're finding that movement. One last squeeze of the knees in towards the chest. Extend into the legs nice and long for a little shavasana here. A little stillness, a little release, a little pause. Taking up space on your mat here, the palms open up towards the sky. Bring the eyes to a close. Allow these next few brief moments to be a time where you get to simply rest, be supported, and do nothing. And then from this shape, slowly bringing some movement into the body and making your way back up into a seated position. Allowing the hands to come into heart center, pressing the palms together, thumbs are pressing in towards the heart. Before you roll up your yoga mat and you go on with the rest of your day, I invite you to come back to that intention if you set one at the beginning of your practice. That intention that followed along with the theme of committing to yourself within challenges, intensity, bumps along the road. And then we'll end with one last breath together. You and I, inhale, please. Open the mouth, exhale. And fluttering the eyes open. Thank you so much for joining me during today's Yin Yoga Deep Hip Stretch practice, and also the invitation to commit to yourself or recommit to yourself through your yoga practice. If you enjoyed today's practice, I would absolutely love it if you gave the video a big thumbs up, if you subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and take a look at my other offerings on my website that are all in the description box below. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. From my heart to yours, until next time, namaste.